and the Todd Family YouTube video, wherever you are, whatever you may be doing. Thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here live here on this Friday night, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure you give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. And I need the help of all of you faithful, good evening, Kevron, and viewers and subscribers, because the channel was growing there for a while. We actually added, I would say, a couple of hundred subscribers in a couple of months, and I was really happy about it. And we got to 1,340, and we have not moved. And I feel like we've been at 1,340 for about 3 weeks now. So if you're a viewer of the channel and you know somebody that tunes in and watches that has not subscribed, tell them to do so. And if you've got family or friends that you know that you think likes any kind of major sport, tell them to subscribe, and I would greatly appreciate it. But tonight, I'm going to start something I said I was going to do before college football started. And if you saw the title of the video, you pretty much figured out what that is, and that is starting our quarterback ranking. And I'm going to do this by conference, and I'm only going to do, as of right now, I'm only going to do the Power 4 conferences. Now, I may end up doing, more, but I'm going to start out with the 4 power conferences. Now, if you, watch this channel, you know that every year since I've started the channel, I try to do, 15 to 20 early season previews and tell you what I think a team is going to do. This year I've already did LSU, Tennessee, Florida State, and Clemson, but I never have did quarterback rankings, so I figured if every other college football person can do them, why can't I? So tonight I'm going to start with the ACC. Now, of course, I've already did the 4 teams I just mentioned, their early season previews, but I will do plenty of more between now and August. I try to do one per week. Sometimes I get sidetracked with basketball or NASCAR or the Braves or wrestling and forget one, but I try to do about one per week. So if you do one per week and you start in April, you can get in 20 or 25 before the season starts. Hey there, the Mixed family. Glad to have y'all here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start our ACC quarterback rankings. There are 17 teams in the ACC, so we'll rank these from 17 being the worst and 1 being the best. The ones at the top, you're going to recognize, even if you're just a casual college football fan, you just know the big-time teams. You'll know the top of the list quarterbacks, but you may not know any or all of the ones at the bottom. Number 17 for me is Stanford quarterback Elijah Brown, and I just don't think he's very good, but I don't think Stanford has a long-term plan. I think Stanford originally thought that David Shaw was going to be their head coach for 75 years, and then all of a sudden, David Shaw's last couple of years, he just fell apart, and Stanford was awful. So I think they fired him because they felt like they had to, because the program was going backwards, but they had no idea what they were going to do because they didn't have any plans on firing him, and they brought in Troy Taylor, and he was only there a couple of years, and they ran him off. So I think it's going to be a long few years out in Palo Alto, California for the Cardinal Stanford, and their quarterback is at the bottom of the list, Elijah Brown. Number 16 is a quarterback that's played for, I think, every Power 4 program in college football. And I believe, to my knowledge, this is the last year of his eligibility, and that is Robbie Ashford. Now, Robbie Ashford comes to Wake Forest from most recently South Carolina, but he's played for every school in the Power Four in college football. He's one of those players that came out of high school as a 5-star, and it seemed like everybody wanted him, and it's just never worked out. Not because he's terrible, he's just average, but he's got a noodle arm, so I'm not really sure why he was projected to be so high coming out of high school as a noodle arm quarterback. But, you know, when you come out of high school and you're a 5-star player and every school wants you, it's going to make you think you're good. And he's not terrible. He's not awful. He's just there. But, you know, Wake Forest, after about 7 or 8 really good years under Dave Clawson, the last couple of years, it's been a struggle for them. So if he goes to Wake Forest and they finish 6-6, it'll be a pretty good season for Wake Forest and a pretty good end. At least I think it's the end of Robbie Ashford's collegiate career. Number 15 is the guy that I think is going to be the starting quarterback. He may not be, but I think he will be at least to start the season, and that is North Carolina's Bryce Baker. Now, of course, we know they've still got Max Johnson, but Max Johnson got hurt last year, and they claim that Max Johnson is going to be back, but he won't be ready when the season starts. But Max Johnson, just like Robbie Ashford, he can't throw. So I think Bryce Baker will be their quarterback, and if he struggles, they might try to go with Max Johnson, but Max Johnson can't throw either. Number 14 is the guy that has the best name in college football this year, Jaron Kiwe Saga Pulu Tele. That is the quarterback for California. Hey there, Austin. I love names like that. So we have Jaron Kiwe Saga Palatule in California. Now, of course, California is not very good, so it's going to be kind of hard to say. Are they struggling because of Jaron, or are they struggling because they're just not very good? But I think 14 is about where he needs to be until he proves, you know, he can make this no good team at least average. Number 13 for me is Grayson James, who's going to be the quarterback at Boston College. Austin, let me know if SmackDown is worth watching. I was planning on going back and watching it later on tonight, but if it's not worth watching, I'll just read the results. I'm not going to worry about it. But I did see this morning, Austin, that they have said coming up, I believe June the 6th, if I'm not mistaken, is the target date for SmackDown to officially go back to 2 hours. They always said the 3-hour thing was not permanent, but I believe I saw that June 6th, which will be the first Friday in June, is when it's going back to 2 hours. Also saw that Braun Strowman, among others, have been released today. Braun Strowman should have never been brought back. The first time he was fired, he should have stayed gone. They should have never brought him back. They did for whatever reason, but him and Caden Carter and Katana Chance and Shayna Baszler and somebody else were released today. Number 12 for me is Ricky Collins. Now, Ricky Collins may end up being higher on this list, you know, come mid-season. But, you know, he's a Syracuse quarterback, and, you know, they had a great season last year with McCord. If he can put up anywhere close to the numbers that McCord did, they'll be fine. But you kind of can't put him higher than that when he hasn't really played much, so we don't know how good he can be. So I think you'd be a fool to say, oh, he's the best quarterback in the conference when we've not seen him play. And Austin, they always do that. They always take talent that they don't use, and instead of continuing to pay them to do nothing, they just let them go. And ever since Caden Carter and Katana Chance lost the NXT tag team belts, they've done next to nothing. And Shayna Baszler was never a bad wrestler. It's just nobody cared about her. It didn't matter what she did, what she said, which show she was on, who she was wrestling. People just didn't care about her. And when people don't care about you, you're not going to be on TV. If you're not going to be on TV, why are you there? And Braun Strowman was just useless. Yeah, he was strong, but being strong don't make you a good wrestler. And he just couldn't wrestle. And they just realized, hey, we're not going to use this guy. Now it used to be worse back in the day when Vince McMahon ran the company. Every year around this time, they would fire like 100 wrestlers because they had 500. But now you don't have near that many. But now you've brought in Aleister Black, you've brought in Rusev, you've brought in Lana, you've brought in Ray Phoenix, you've brought in Penta. Well, if you're going to bring in all these old superstars, then you're going to let go of some of the ones that you don't use. The next one is Backlash. Next Saturday. Of course, I can't watch it next Saturday because I'll be at SWA, but I'll probably watch it maybe next Sunday afternoon or that Monday, one of the two. Number 11 for me is Chandler Morris. He'll be the quarterback at Virginia. Now, Chandler Morris is the son of former high school head coach, former college head coach, former Clemson offensive coordinator, Chad Morris. And this will be the fourth school, I believe, for Chandler Morris so far. Everywhere he's gone, it just has not worked out. So hopefully this year he'll have a decent season. Number 10 is Boston College transfer, who is now Florida State quarterback, Thomas Castellanos. Castellanos can be great. The only problem with him is we saw it at Boston College. The first time he has a bad quarter or a bad game or a bad half and he gets fussed at by the coach, he pouts. But if he keeps his head on straight, he's a good quarterback. Number 9 for me is a guy that I would rank higher than this because honestly I think he's better than a couple of the guys right above him that I'm fixing to get to. But I've got him at 9 because he's just too tiny, too small. And I mentioned this last year when he took over at NC State. But C.J. Bailey's number 9. He has all the tools in the world to be a phenomenal, exceptional quarterback. But he's listed as a $185, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think he weighs that much. But he looks like he's about 9'12" and weighs 75 pounds. He looks like the old NBA player Yao Ming. He's just tall and lanky. And when you're that skinny, eventually you're going to get hurt because you're just too small. But if C.J. Bailey can put some weight on and keep it on, I think he has top 5 potential. He's really good. And Austin, I hope we do not see Lana. Unfortunately, she will eventually be back on TV somehow, some way. She always finds her way on TV with Rusev. But I'm just not a Lana fan at all. So if she never shows back up, I'll be okay with it. But since she's re-signed a contract with them, you can guarantee at some point or another she'll be on TV. But if she never comes back on TV, I'd be okay with it. I'm not a fan of her at all. And I'm also not a fan of Karrion Kross's wife, Scarlett, at all. I think Karrion Cross is better off without Scarlett, and I think Rusev is better off without Lana. That's just my opinion. Number 8, a guy that can be higher if he can be more consistent, but one week he's the best quarterback in the country, and the next week he's the worst quarterback in the country, and that's Kyron Drones at Virginia Tech. Number 7, USC transfer quarterback Miller Moss, who is now at Louisville. And I expect Miller Moss to have a phenomenal season because Brom can take the worst quarterback and make him look good. And I don't think Miller Moss was a bad quarterback. So I expect Miller Moss to have a good season with Louisville. And no, I was not a fan of Braun Strowman at all, Austin. Never was. Number 6, Pittsburgh quarterback Eli Holstein. Number 5, Duke quarterback Darian Mensah, who of course was at Tulane, and he got talked about because this past season, basically as soon as the season ended, he said, I'm transferring to Duke because Duke was offering him, I want to say, as upwards of almost $3 million, and I didn't understand it because he didn't have a bad season last year, but he didn't have a great season, and I couldn't figure out what he did that made Duke think he was going to be some great quarterback. But you're not paying Darian Mensah to come in and put up the same numbers he put up at Tulane. But how do you know he can be better? You don't. Yeah, he has better teammates now, but he's also facing better competition now. So how do you know, how are you so sure that he's worth that money? I didn't understand it then and still don't get it now. I guess we'll find out. He's a good quarterback. I just don't know if I would have went out and offered him that kind of money with the numbers he put up. I do like him, Austin. I just wish they would have waited longer to bring them in because honestly, I don't think they were ready. I think Triple H was trying to figure out what to do with them, and after Bray Wyatt died, and there was so much hype with Bo Dallas returning and being back, that I think Triple H just felt so much pressure of bringing in the Wyatt Six, and he brought him in, and he had no plans for him. And of course, now they're off TV because Bo Dallas is hurt, but I think he brought him in with no plan for him. Hey, Chronicles, glad to have you here. And I love The Miz, but I don't like Aleister Black at all. Aleister Black could go fall in a hole and never come back, and I'd be okay with it. He's the most I'd rather watch grass grow and watch paint dry standing in quicksand than watch Aleister Black wrestle. Number 4, Georgia Tech quarterback Haynes King. If Haynes King can throw the ball more consistently, he could be the best quarterback in the conference. He's really good. He's a great leader, and he knows the game of football. Great teammate. And when you hear the guy talk, his personality is infectious. But, you know, there are some games where if he completes 5 passes, he's doing good because he just can't throw the ball consistently. But he has everything else ready to go. The best gimmick Bo Dallas ever had, Austin, was when he would come out and say, Bo knows. And they should have stayed with that gimmick. Number 3 for me is SMU quarterback Kevin Jennings. And the top 2 should not surprise anybody. Number 2, I get to make fun of now, and I can do it a lot easier because when he was at Georgia, everybody thought that I made fun of him because I hate Georgia, when the reality of it is I made fun of the guy because it was the truth. And that's Carson Fivehead. I ain't never seen anybody with a forehead as big as Carson Beck. He could lay on his back, flat on the ground, and you could drive an 18-wheeler across that man's forehead and would not touch his eyeballs or his hair. I ain't never saw a forehead so big. In all my Holborn days, I used to think that Peyton Manning had the world's largest forehead. Carson Beck has passed him. You could play a football game 11 on 11 on Carson Beck's forehead, and you would not touch his hair or his eyeballs. Biggest forehead in history of the world. So number 2, Miami quarterback, Carson, 5 head, otherwise known as Carson Beck. And of course, the number 1 quarterback in the ACC is Cade Klubnik. Now, people are trying to say that he's better than Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence. Now, I know everybody in every sport, not just football, in every sport likes to be a prisoner of the moment. And since Cade Klubnik is the current hot topic, so to speak, at Clemson, you're going to say he's better than Trevor and better than Deshaun. In my personal opinion, he's not. But now, Deshaun Watson's NFL career outside of the first about 3 years, he's been nothing short of absolutely awful. And Trevor Lawrence so far has sucked out loud. So if Cade Klubnik can go to the NFL, he might have a better NFL career than Deshaun or Trevor, because that's not saying much. He can just be an average quarterback in the NFL for 10 years, and he's better than Trevor or Deshaun. But as far as collegiate-wise, just at Clemson, he's not as good as Deshaun, not as good as Trevor, at least not yet. He might be this year. But I mentioned this last week, but I'll go ahead and say it again in case you missed last week's video. Cade Klubnik is an early season pick to win the Heisman. Let me go ahead and tell you, spoiler alert, it ain't happening. He's not winning the Heisman. There will never be a Clemson player win the Heisman, which I'm fine with it, because to me the Heisman is an absolute joke. But for all the people who are big on the Heisman, I'll go ahead and tell you, if you expect Cade to win the Heisman, it's not happening. Now, if he does, I'll get on here and say, hey, I apologize, I was wrong. But I don't think you'll ever see a Clemson quarterback have as good of a single season as Deshaun Watson did. And if Deshaun Watson didn't win it, I don't see anybody else winning it. I think Cade could come out and complete 85% of his passes and have 75 touchdowns and no interceptions and 10,000 passing yards, and he still wouldn't win the Heisman. So if you think Cade's winning the Heisman, I'll be shocked. I'll be stunned. I don't see it. Even if he puts up the numbers Deshaun put up, I don't think he'll win it, but maybe. I'm wrong, but he is definitely the best quarterback in the ACC. Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Why did the chicken go to the gym? To work on his pecs. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.